Gandhi said, "There is more to life than merely increasing its speed." And if you're like me, maybe you feel like life gets faster and faster as the years go by. I think the world has gotten faster. It's gotten smaller with technology. We're closer to one another. News comes out immediately. Things are instantaneous. It's crept into our workplaces and even into our families, our lives at home as well. And it just seems like life goes so fast. And there are so many things that are offered to us and given to us, and it's hard to find time to slow down. And really, there's no one in our life who says, slow down, take it easy, let me do the work for you. I got this covered, put your feet up and relax. You know, our bosses will never tell us that. And even in our families, you know, the children ask for, Mom, I want this, Dad, help me with that. Spouses might ask for a bit more time, a bit more attention. Nobody tells us to slow down except for God. God says, stop, rest. I understand your work's not done, but stop. Not because it's finished, your work, but because it's time to finally rest. Put your feet up and relax a bit. Only God tells us to slow down and to rest. And He doesn't just tell us, He commands us, right? It's one of the 10 commandments. And so as we find ourselves being so busy in life, maybe we end up doing a bit of violence to ourselves. Thomas Merton was a monk and a priest, and he says there is a pervasive form of contemporary violence, and that is activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone and everything, is to succumb to violence. That's a bold statement on the part of Thomas Merton. Really? Doing violence to ourselves? But aren't I supposed to help everyone and everything? Isn't it unchristian to say no? Isn't it selfish of me to not just give all of my life and all of my time away? Thomas Merton says no. When you give in to too many projects, too many demands, when you say yes to everything and everybody, you end up doing violence to yourself. The French have a saying. They say to live is not to survive. Here's the difference. Surviving is waking up in the morning, getting the kids out of bed, quick breakfast for the kids, maybe packing some lunches for them, making sure they're all put in the car and they haven't forgotten anything, driving them off to school. Then you go off to work your 8-hour day, come back, pick up the kids, take some to soccer practice, some to their friend's house, buy a birthday gift for a weekend party for the kids, come home, make a quick dinner, make sure the kids take a shower, go to bed, and do the same thing tomorrow. That's surviving, that's not living. Now, there are periods in our life when we're just surviving. It happens for us, to us from time to time. But that's surviving. Living is being more deliberate, taking a bit more time about what I'm doing, a bit of having a goal, but having it planned out a bit more. Enjoying life, the old saying of stopping to smell the roses, right? To live is not to survive. Are you living or are you surviving? Because I think a lot of us are just surviving. And maybe for 20, 30 years, all we do is survive. But God wants us to live, and so He gives us the Sabbath as a constant, at least weekly reminder to live and to not just survive. What's the background to the Sabbath? Of course, we know it's one of the 10 commandments. The book of Exodus and the book of Deuteronomy both list the 10 commandments. And they give different reasons for why we should keep the Sabbath. So in the book of Exodus, God says, keep holy the Sabbath because I, the Lord your God, rested on the 7th day. Basically, if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you. I rested, therefore you rest. In the book of Deuteronomy, the motivation or the reason for keeping holy the Sabbath is a bit different. God says, keep holy the Sabbath because when you were in Egypt, you were slaves. And essentially, when you're a slave, you don't get a day off. There is no rest. It's 24/7. Every day of the year, you're at the beck and call of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh would heap more and more work upon the Hebrews. He gave them no rest. And so God says, keep holy the Sabbath, because you used to be slaves and you're not slaves anymore. I freed you so that you could have some peace and some calm and some quiet in your life. So then God built into the seventh day, after 6 days of work, one rests. After 7 sets of 7 years, after 6 years, the land was supposed to rest. Then after 7 sets of 7 years, every 50th year was a Jubilee year. Things were different at that time. We still have a Jubilee year. Every 50th year we have a Jubilee in the church's history. And the idea is that after working a lifetime, one of the images of heaven is heaven as the eternal Sabbath. It's the Sabbath that doesn't end. In heaven, there are no Mondays. It's all weekend. There's not one Monday in heaven. You have to wake up and say, oh, I got to go to work today. Not in heaven. It's pure weekend. And so what might it look like to keep holy the Sabbath? 5 things. First, go to Mass, right? Worship is part of Sabbath. We all know that. Secondly, no work, lots of time for reflection, for leisure. And so just kind of resting and taking it all in. Henry David Thoreau said, when he spent his year on Walden Pond, he writes, there were times when I could not afford to sacrifice the bloom of the present moment to any work, whether of head or hands. Sometimes in a summer morning, having taken my accustomed bath, I sat in my sunny doorway from sunrise till noon, wrapped in a reverie, amidst the pines and hickories and sumacs, in undisturbed solitude and stillness, while the birds sang around me. I grew in those seasons like corn in the night, and they were far better than any work of the hands would have been. They were not times subtracted from my life, but so much over and above my usual allowance. Henry David Thoreau says, I was going to do some work. I got caught up looking at the trees, listening to the birds, looking at the sun, sat in my doorway looking at nature. And he says, I grew in those moments, like corn in the night. How does corn in the night grow? Can't see it. Have no idea. All I know is I come back the next day and it's bigger. A bit of the idea of dormancy, that something happens underneath and deeper. And so that's where Henry David Thoreau grew. Something was going on deeper, at a deeper level. And he was responding to what was going on in his life. And he says, that was far better than any work of my head or my hands would have been. The time that I spent doing nothing. So Sabbath also includes not working, leisure and reflection. The third thing it includes is what we would call unordinary time. If you're going to do something, don't do what you do the rest of the week. If you're a baker, don't bake on the Sabbath. If you're a gardener, don't mow your lawn on the Sabbath. But, if you're an accountant and you like mowing your lawn, have at it. Mow your lawn on the Sabbath. Have fun. Do something you don't normally do on the other days of the week, right? If you're cooking and doing laundry and cleaning, don't do that on the Sabbath. Do something that's a little bit different on the Sabbath. The fourth part of Sabbath is celebration. To be together, to enjoy the time. In years past, remember the old Sunday drive? Family would get in the car for a Sunday drive, and where did you go? Nowhere. One big circle, right? You just got out. Or the meal was at Grandma's house on Sunday. All the family gathered at Grandma's house. And that's the idea of celebration. Getting together with family and friends and enjoying each other's company, even if there's no special event going on. And then the fifth part of Sabbath would be forgiveness. Letting go of grudges, because that was part of the Sabbath in the Old Testament times. 6 days is long enough to carry a grudge. Let it go on the 7th. Let him go. So those are some of the 5 things you might do on Sabbath. Worship with Mass, no work but leisure and reflection, unordinary time, celebration, and forgiveness. Now Sunday, you might have to work. The United States does not honor Christians who want to have Sunday off. They make us work. My bishop makes me work too. I have to work Sunday. So you might need to take Sabbath as a different day. Maybe it's a Monday or a Saturday or a Wednesday. Your Sabbath day might be a different day. It's not going to easily fall on Sunday like it did in years past. So that's the background to Sabbath and why we keep holy the Sabbath. What are some of the reasons why you and I don't arrive at Sabbath? What are some of the reasons why we don't enjoy it or do it the way it's supposed to be done? Father Ron Rolheiser says there are two reasons. The first reason is our innate restlessness and busyness with life. We're restless. We want to do everything. We want to miss nothing. We fear missing out on things, right? It's like the teenager that wants to go to the football game, the dance, 2 parties, on all this on Friday night, and still binge watch something on Netflix, right? It's too much, but we don't want to miss anything. So we're restless. If you're like me, I'll sit down sometimes to enjoy reading a book, relaxing. Then I think, oh, I need to send off this email. Get up and send an email. Sit back down to read. Think, oh, I should be doing laundry while I'm reading. Why don't I throw a load of laundry into the washing machine? Go back and sit down. Popping up and popping down. It's a restlessness that's kind of innate in all of us. We have a hard time sitting still in our own skin. And so Father Ron Rolheiser says the remedy for that is solitude. Sit with your restlessness until it turns into peace and solitude. Not loneliness or aloneness, but solitude. It turns into that. And then the second reason, or the second part of that, why we don't come to Sabbath is because of the busyness of our lives. There's so much to do. Jesus tells the parable in the gospel of the man who invited many people to the wedding feast, and they all turned him down. I just bought some oxen, I just got married, consider me excused. People are just too busy to accept a good thing. And maybe that's true for us. If I said, tomorrow there's free beer and pizza at 10 o'clock in the morning here in San Bernardino, what's your response going to be? 10? Can you do a little bit later, a little bit earlier? I'm kind of at work right now, I'm at school, I got another appointment, I have other things to do. The idea is that God gives us something good. We say, no thanks, God. It sounds really nice, but not now. How about another time? And so God gives us, every Sabbath or maybe every Sunday, we say, no thanks, Lord, I got some things to do today. And so we don't get to Sabbath, partly because of our restlessness and partly because of our busyness. We say we just have too much to do. The second reason that Father Ron Rolheiser says that we don't get to Sabbath is because we feel guilty. We feel guilty about resting. We feel guilty about doing nothing, especially if there are people around us doing something. In the Gospel of John, chapter 12, right before the Last Supper in John's Gospel, Mary anoints the feet of Jesus. And everybody is embarrassed by that scene except for 2 people, Jesus and Mary. Everyone else is very uncomfortable with what's going on. And Judas, in this rendition, this version, says, we should have sold this for 300 days' wages and given the money to the poor. He's trying to make Jesus feel guilty for enjoying the moment and enjoying an anointing of his feet. And Jesus will have none of it. Judas wants Jesus to go on that guilt trip, and Jesus will have none of it. He says, don't make me feel guilty, Judas, because in a few days I'm going to be dead. I'm enjoying this moment right now while she anoints my feet. Don't make me feel guilty about the poor you always have with you. Don't make me feel guilty about enjoying this because I'm not going to live forever, right? I'm going to be dead on the cross in a few days. And so we end up feeling guilty in many ways. We feel guilty that other people don't have as much as we do. We feel guilty that others are working while we're not. Maybe a little bit of that Martha and Mary story in Luke's gospel. Some of that goes on. We feel guilty if we're not being productive. In the Gospels, Jesus says he was known as a drunkard and glutton. Jesus was neither a drunkard nor glutton. But he says, that's how you see the Son of Man. Well, that means that Jesus enjoyed drink and he enjoyed food. He enjoyed those things with people. He enjoyed life and he got in trouble. He was badly spoken about by the Pharisees. Jesus enjoyed the things of life. It's a way of giving thanks to God for this world and for the life that God has given to us. Jesus was not a workaholic. He wasn't a workaholic. It's not a virtue to be a workaholic, although it's the one addiction that we get praised for, right? Any other addiction, they're going to send you away for rehab and treatment. But if you're a workaholic, aren't you great? He works so hard. What a great guy. What a great lady. She's really always there, burning the candle at both ends. Jesus was not a workaholic. We sometimes don't come to Sabbath simply because we feel guilty. That we're enjoying when we should be working, we're not being productive. However, Jesus gives us the example of how to enjoy Sabbath, how to enjoy life. So those are some of the reasons why you and I don't quite get to Sabbath, why we don't really enjoy it. I want to finish up with Father Ron Rolheiser. He gives 10 tips for how to keep the Sabbath. Number 1, he says, practice the Sabbath with the discipline demanded of a commandment, even as you practice the discipline of life and duty. It's a commandment to keep holy the Sabbath, and yet we can dismiss it. We don't dismiss don't murder, don't steal, don't commit adultery. We don't dismiss those lightly, but we lightly dismiss keep holy the Sabbath, right? He says, Ron Rolheiser says, keep it with the discipline and duty like you go to work, like you save each month, or like you clean your house and do other things. Keep it with the discipline of a commandment. Secondly, he says, have at least one Sabbath moment every day. Every day, give yourself one little thing to look forward to. Maybe you're taking work to lunch, you're going to eat outside the picnic table this day. Enjoy the beautiful weather of November. Maybe you're going to come home and watch a movie with somebody. Maybe you're going to go out to eat this one night. Maybe you're just going to have one special treat of candy or something. Give yourself something to look forward to every day. One little Sabbath moment is what Father Rolheiser calls it. Number 3, he says, go somewhere every day where you cannot be reached, where no one's going to get to you, right? Remember the old Cheers episodes, that opening song was, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. I want to go where nobody knows my name. I'm tired of people always tracking me down. I want to get away. And I suspect sometimes you do as well, especially moms with children and a husband that doesn't really let them be at peace from moment to moment. So go somewhere every day where you cannot be reached. Number 4, Father Ron Rolheiser says, honor the wisdom of dormancy. Do something regularly that's not practical or pragmatic. So again, the idea of dormancy is that something happens underneath, deep down. Even though I may not be able to see it, or name it, or hear it, or feel it, by simply regularly being calm, reflecting, whatever it might be, something changes inside of me. Something grows inside of me. So practice being non-pragmatic, non-practical on a regular basis. Number 5, of course, Father Rolheiser says, pray and meditate every day, regularly in some way. Of course, that's going to center us and bring us back. Number 6, he says, be attentive to little children, old people, family, friends, food, drink, and the weather. It's essentially stop and smell the roses, right? Essentially that. But also looking at people who are enjoying life. Little kids don't have a sense of time on the playground. They're just loving it, screaming and yelling and having a great time. It'd be nice if some of that infected us, where we can just kind of throw caution to the wind and enjoy the moment. Live in the moment right now. Number 7, he says, live by the axiom, if not now, when? If not here, where? If not with these people, with whom? If not for God, why? Here's the idea. Sometimes we put off doing what we want to do. You know, when I retire, I'm going to go and travel and visit Europe, right? Or when I have this vacation free and I get enough vacation time, then I'm going to go away and visit the relatives. Or later on, I'll visit my children. And what happens? Later on and tomorrow doesn't come. Or maybe we get sick and we can't do what we thought we were going to do. Seize the day. It's kind of the moment. Seize the opportunity. Seize the moment right now. Because we don't know how much time we have left. We don't know what tomorrow holds or what life is like after retirement, or if we'll get the chance to retire. Do it now. Enjoy your things now. Number 8, he says, stay in touch and listen to your body. Your body tells you, it knows when you need to rest, when you need to stop and slow down. Your body and your mind know that. Sometimes, though, we still drive ourselves, unfortunately. Number 9, he says, drink a glass or two of wine on most evenings, ideally in a rocking chair. So maybe the idea is simply to enjoy something, enjoy a flavor, rest, relax, enjoy the moment. Nothing's getting done except just thinking and relaxing and rocking. Then finally, he says, don't nurse grudges and obsessions. I think the key word is nurse. Because I do think we enjoy some of our grudges. We enjoy reminding people about what they've done to us in the past. And we nurse some of our grudges and obsessions instead of just letting them go. So those are some tips, 10 tips from Father Ron Rolheiser on how to keep the Sabbath, not just on a particular day of the week, but in a regular way in the course of your life. Hopefully you find some time to slow down. Walter Brueggemann says, Sabbath is resistance. Nobody tells us to slow down. No one gives us this time except for God. We have to say no to many other things and demands in our lives so that we can say yes to Sabbath. Nobody does that for us. We have to be responsible for doing it for ourselves. Saying, no, not today, maybe another time. No to this project, no to that demand. I'm not going to do that. Sabbath is a bit about fighting back. Saying no to some of those things so that we can say yes to peace, quiet, solitude, time with the Lord, enjoying the most important things in life, family and friends, and the beauty of the world.
Do you want to fall in love with God? I'm sure we all want to. The book of Psalms contains the directions. Thousands of years ago, people like you and me talked to God out of the depths of their hearts, revealing an intimate love. Psalms are the expression of the faith in God by people around 3,000 years ago. God was not a mere abstract creator, but was present, involved, and a real person of power and emotions. Now, when we read or listen to the Psalms, we can know the intensity of this love. Entering into the influence of the Psalms, we can find a path to know and love God. To know more about the Psalms, you should get a copy of Father Mike Manning's booklet, The Psalms. It will help you to understand the 150 Psalms better as he has categorized them. He uses the technique of acts: adoration, contrition, thanksgiving, and supplication. Get your copy today and know the categories. Learn to pray with the Psalms.
Call the number on the screen or email us. You can also get it through our website. Get your copy today.
Today, with the kind of world and the kind of work schedule that many people have, so often one of the questions that people come to me as a priest, they ask me is, Father, is it okay that I consider a Monday or a weekday as a Sabbath? What would be your suggestion or your kind of response to that?
I would say yes, without a doubt. Use Monday if that's today. If that's a day, maybe you're free even for Mass or something. Use it as a different day, unordinary day, not doing what you normally do.
Now the problem that they face is we also say Sunday should be observed as a Sabbath, and also it's a day of obligation. You need to go to the Mass, and the Sunday liturgy is often not the same kind of liturgy like the weekdays. So they are asking, now if I go to the church on Monday or any of the weekdays, is it going to be a substitute for Sunday because the liturgy is not the same? So they're kind of unclarity in that one. Now you being a canon lawyer?
Yes, I say yes and no to people. The liturgy is different, and there is a canon. You got me without knowing it offhand. It's in the 1200s somewhere. But it talks a bit about commuting that day of obligation. And I think even a pastor can say to a person, if that's your work schedule and you need to come on a Tuesday or a Monday or a Friday, then that's the day that you come. Okay. Of course, the liturgy is not the same, but one shouldn't feel bad about having to work on Sunday. It's when I don't have to work.
This is something that I found myself in this situation where life was just getting so hectic and so fast that I couldn't stand it. And I was offered the opportunity to daily go for an hour for adoration in front of the Eucharist. And it is the most wonderful experience I have ever had in my entire life. I have been to adoration, but the fact that I go every day, the same time for 1 hour, when I walk out of there, I feel like every problem that I ever had has been lifted from me. And it's just amazing the things that come to my mind that I was thinking about that I couldn't figure out all of a sudden are clear. It's just a wonderful experience.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, that is true. That is a great Sabbath moment every day.
Is the Sabbath all day long? Is it an hour? Is it, you know, can you break it up? Can you go to a sporting event? Because to me, that's not being honoring the Sabbath. That's enjoying. But you're saying that it's enjoying yourself. So it's confusing to me. How is that honoring the Sabbath?
Good question. Good question. I think it needs to be. It may not be the whole day, depending on what one has to do. But I think it should be. It should be a good part of the day, right? In times past or years past, it was from sundown to sundown, and that was it. There was nothing going on between sundown to sundown. I think, so it should be a good chunk of the day, maybe more than just an hour or two. There's a Sabbath moment every day, but the Sabbath once a week should really be a good chunk of time, a good day. But that can be time for enjoying ourselves. That is part of Sabbath. Of those 5 things that we might do, it really should be about enjoying oneself, so that you're not dishonoring the Sabbath by enjoying yourself and enjoying life and friends or going to a sporting event. That's exactly what you should be doing.
On a Sunday, that being our Sabbath day, once I have completed my obligation of going to the church, that's done. I don't need to do anything more. My Sabbath obligation is done. Now, is that right? Or when you say that a couple of hours, is there a kind of a line that we can draw to say, oh, this is it, now you are free?
Good question, yes. Because when people go to confession, and if they were to say, like to you or to me, I didn't keep holy the Sabbath, we know all they mean is I didn't go to Mass,
yeah,
right? That's all they mean.
Exactly.
They mean nothing more than that. And it's a lot more than that.
Exactly.
That's from Scripture to the people I quote. Mass is part of the day of honoring the Sabbath, of keeping it holy, but a lot of it is just relaxation, rest, not working, unordinary time. That's a big part of the day, celebration. And so one doesn't really keep holy the Sabbath if all one does is go to Mass and then returns to life as normal. There's got to be more to it.